Welcome to my suggested add-on reworks for the Dredge. The Dredge is just over a year old by the time I'm recording this, and has some pretty decent add-ons. However, there are a few that are either slightly too weak, too strong, or just flat out useless. We'll begin with the brown add-ons and work our way up. Let's begin. So starting off with the wooden plank, and the current effect is that it increases the number of charges added to the nightfall meter for hooking a survivor by 25%. My new suggested effect is that it will increase movement speed while charging and holding Reign of Darkness by 8%. This reworked add-on is aimed at the chase potential of using the Remnant, as many of Dredge's add-ons only focus on the teleporting and nightfall parts of his kit. Now, onto the yellow add-ons. The Malthinker's Skull. The current effect is that it increases the nightfall meter charge rate for when survivors are injured by 66% per second. I think that that's a little bit too strong, so my suggested change would just be to make it so that it's only 60% per second. A small but needed number change in my opinion. This add-on is incredibly potent, and a little tweak like this should bring it more in line with Dredge's other add-ons. Next up is Haddy's Calendar. Its current effect is that it reduces the time to exit a locked locker by 1 second, and the new effect that I'm suggesting is that it reduces it by 0.7 seconds. But this change will be brought with the Dredge exiting a locked locker by an extra 0.3 seconds off base kit, which would essentially keep Haddy's Calendar the same way as it is right now, but less of a necessity because it would be not as strong off base kit. The next add-on is Fallen Shingle. Its current effect is that it increases the nightfall meter charge rate for using Reign of Darkness by 15% per second. The new effect would be exactly what it does already, however, it would also mean that when survivors destroy a remnant, the nightfall charge meter is filled by 50% of its current missing progress. So this change would be to add a new playstyle to the Dredge by trying to lure the survivors into the remnant as an alternate way to charge the nightfall. Next up is the Burnt Letters, and the current effect is that it increases the number of charges added to the nightfall meter for injuring a survivor by 25%. Now the new effect that I'm suggesting is essentially combining Burnt Letters and the wooden plank, which would increase the number of charges added to the nightfall meter for injuring and hooking a survivor by 25%, which provides a bit more of utility for both of them, as the wooden plank has now been completely reworked earlier. Moving on to the green add-ons, we have the War Helmet, which is my least favourite Dredge add-on. Its current effect is that it increases the duration of Killer Instinct by 1.5 seconds during nightfall. This is almost useless, so my new effect that I am suggesting is that hitting a survivor during nightfall recharges Reign of Darkness and extends nightfall by 5 seconds. So it basically rewards the Dredge for nightfall damage by bringing back its power and also extending nightfall. Quite a simple change, but much better than its old effect. The next add-on is the Destroyed Pillow. Its current effect is that it reduces the cooldown duration of the Gloaming by 2.5 seconds during nightfall. Its new effect would be exiting a locked locker when not in nightfall, granting a 5% haste effect for 3 seconds, and exiting a locked locker during nightfall, granting an 8% haste effect for 3 seconds. With War Helmet now being able to recharge Reign of Darkness during the nightfall, the Destroyed Pillow loses its old value and now has the haste effect instead, which could provide with some interesting Dredge speed builds. Moving on to the Broken Doll, its current effect is that it increases the duration of nightfall by 20 seconds, and its new effect that I'm suggesting is that during nightfall the Dredge becomes completely silent and loses its mass, turning into just dark smoke. This change is aimed at making the Dredge a bit more of a stealth killer during nightfall, as currently, even though it is undetectable, its noises can still be heard very loudly, and survivors can see it from quite far. Even though their range of vision is slightly limited, you can still see the Dredge from quite far away. So this change makes all of its noises completely silent and makes the survivors only see its dark smoke, which blends into nightfall, which will mean you won't be able to see your cosmetics, but they won't be able to see you very well, so I think that's a worthy trade-off. Purple add-ons, I've only changed one here because I think that the others are okay, and that is the Tilling Blade that is not okay, because its current effect is that it has to be specifically healthy survivors becoming injured during nightfall suffer from blindness, hemorrhage, and mangled for 60 seconds. So it's not even permanent, it's not, you can literally just run Sloppy Butcher. I mean, you don't get the blindness, but still it's a bit of a useless add-on in my opinion, and it's far too expensive for the effect that it brings. So my suggested effect is that exiting lockers becomes silent, During nightfall, break pallets, generators, and breakable walls 30% faster. So this change makes the dredge almost unstoppable during nightfall, able to properly sneak up on survivors and destroy anything in its way. Now finally, onto the ultra rare add-ons. I've changed both of these. The first one, Sacrificial Knife, its current effect is that exiting a locker during nightfall blocks all vault locations within 16 meters of it for 5 seconds. And the new effect that I'm suggesting is that you combine the knife and the iridescent wooden plank so that you've got the effect of exiting a locker during nightfall blocks all vault locations within 16 meters of it for 5 seconds, and survivors suffer from the exposed status effect for the final 25% of nightfall. So it combines both of them. But there is a slight twist that you might have noticed, and now that the exposed effect happens during the final 25% of nightfall rather than a set timer, it can now be combined with War Helmet to snowball if played correctly. The iridescent wooden plank is the final add-on in this video, and its current effect is that survivors suffer from exposed for the final 12 seconds of nightfall. Obviously, now that that's been reworked and slightly modified and added to the sacrificial knife, I've completely reworked the iridescent wooden plank. So the new effect is that returning to the remnant grants a 5% haste effect for 3 seconds, and while charging and holding the remnant, getting pallet stunned during this breaks the pallet, a bit like Spirit Fury. During nightfall, survivors fast vaulting a pallet within 15 meters of the remnant will cause the pallet to break and the dredge to return to the remnant, which will also activate the 5% haste effect for 3 seconds. This rework is focused on the dredge's chase power rather than the sacrificial knife, which is focused on the teleporting power, and this add-on now opens a whole new way to play the dredge. I also wanted to play into the fact that a lot of killers have a lot of add-ons that kind of mimic some of their perks. For example, the Blight has the Summoning Stone, where if you hit a survivor during a rush, it blocks the pallets, which is like one of his perks, Blood Favor. So this kind of mimics the perk that the Dredge has called Disillusion. So during nightfall, they vault the pallet, it breaks itself if it's near the remnant. So there you have it, all of the add-ons that I've changed or reworked. Let me know what you think in the comments and what killer I should rework the add-ons for next. I'm very interested to hear what you guys all think. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.